Every setback you face is not just an obstacle. It's a lesson wrapped in discomfort. It may not feel like it in the moment. When you're defeated, when your heart breaks, when you lose something or someone you truly care about, the pain can be overwhelming. But buried inside that pain is a message, a whisper of wisdom that most people ignore. Adversity, though painful, is the greatest teacher life has to offer. It tests your patience, challenges your confidence, and pushes you to the brink. And yet, those who dare to lean into the lesson instead of recoiling from the pain emerge not just wiser, but transformed. Life doesn't hand out victories freely. It demands persistence, effort, and above all, resilience. Those who achieve greatness aren't the ones who never failed. They are the ones who refuse to stay down after failing. Every defeat carries a seed. It contains a fragment of insight that, if watered with self-awareness and nurtured with effort, blooms into strength. The discomfort is real, yes, but that's what makes the lesson stick. Growth is never comfortable. You never grow by staying warm and safe inside your comfort zone. You grow when you're stretched, when you're tested, and when you're knocked off balance. And setbacks? They are life's way of telling you, this is where you need to improve. This is the next area of growth. This is how you level up. If you can shift your mindset to see setbacks not as failures, but as feedback, you begin to unlock an incredible source of power. You stop fearing failure because you understand that within it lies the very thing you need to go further. Let's be honest, setbacks hurt. They come with disappointment, embarrassment, and sometimes the loss of confidence. But imagine for a second what your life would be like if everything had gone perfectly. Would you be as strong, as capable, as wise? The truth is, we grow more from failure than from success. Failure forces us to confront our weaknesses. It demands humility and reflection. It burns, yes, but from that burn comes understanding. You begin to notice what you missed before. You adjust, you reframe, and slowly you start becoming someone stronger than before. Each time you rise from a setback, you carry with you a new layer of armor, not made of steel, but of wisdom, courage, and experience. Think about your own life. Think about a time you were heartbroken. At that moment, you probably thought the world was ending. And yet, here you are, stronger, wiser, more self-aware. That experience taught you something. Maybe it taught you to value yourself more, or to be more cautious, or to listen to your intuition. Every disappointment leaves behind a map, if you're willing to read it. The path forward may be rugged, but it's the only one that leads to mastery. No one ever grew in a straight line. Growth is jagged. It comes through the grind. It comes through bruises, through late nights, through quiet tears no one sees. And most importantly, it comes when you choose to stand back up, again and again. Now, let's pause here and think. What if we saw each setback not as a personal failure, but as an invitation? An invitation to evolve, an invitation to think differently, act more boldly, and sharpen our strategy. Life will keep testing you until you learn the lesson. And the faster you learn to ask, what is this trying to teach me? The quicker you accelerate your own growth. You become unstoppable, not because you're never hurt, but because pain no longer breaks you, it shapes you. This shift in perspective is the gateway to personal power. It turns adversity into fuel and every obstacle into a stepping stone. Me take you through a real-life story, a true example of how setbacks can build greatness. Consider the journey of Nelson Mandela, a man who would go on to become one of the most iconic leaders of the 20th century. Mandela's life was forged in the fires of adversity. Before he became president of South Africa, before he became a symbol of reconciliation, he spent 27 years in prison. 27 years, not for a crime of violence, but for standing up against apartheid, for daring to dream of a better, more equal nation. For most people, that kind of imprisonment would break the spirit. Imagine the world moving on without you. Imagine being locked away, separated from your family, your children, your country, and your mission. It could have turned into bitterness. He could have emerged angry, resentful, and unwilling to trust. But Mandela chose differently. In his isolation, he reflected. He planned, he studied, and most importantly, he grew. He once said, "I am not a saint, unless you think of a saint as a sinner who keeps on trying." He saw prison not just as punishment, but as preparation. By the time he walked out of Robben Island, he was no longer just a political prisoner. He was a statesman in waiting. He had clarity, vision, and a deep understanding of both justice and forgiveness. His adversity became his training ground. His suffering gave him the strength to unite a nation. And had he not gone through that suffering, perhaps he would not have had the moral authority, the internal fortitude, to lead South Africa through its most difficult transition. That's the power of using your setbacks as stepping stones. Mandela's story shows us that pain can be your greatest sculptor. It chips away at the unnecessary. It reveals the strength hidden beneath. It teaches you how to stand for something, even when the world stands against you. And it shows you that every heartbreak, every unjust punishment, every loss is not the end, but the beginning of something far greater. Setbacks aren't the opposite of progress. They are the fuel for it. Look closely at anyone who has achieved something extraordinary, and you'll find a string of failures behind them. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. Steve Jobs was fired from the very company he created. All of them faced moments where the world told them they weren't good enough. But instead of listening, they turned inward. They learned, they adjusted, and they came back stronger. That is the mark of greatness, not perfection, but perseverance. Every time you fall, you have a choice. You can let the fall define you, or you can use it as a foundation. It's not about how many times you fall. It's about how many times you choose to rise. And with each rise, you become more unstoppable, more focused, more wise. Resilience isn't about never breaking. It's about coming back, even when you've been broken, even when you doubt yourself, even when the world no longer believes in you. And ironically, it's those moments when you feel alone, when the odds are stacked against you, that shape the future version of yourself. So when life pushes you down, push back harder. Ask yourself, what did I learn? What will I do differently? What strengths have I discovered in myself that I never knew existed? This is how leaders are born, not in comfort, but in chaos. Not in ease, but in effort. Adversity is not the enemy. It's the architect of strength. Learn to see it that way, and you will become more than just a survivor. You will become a force that cannot be shaken. Setbacks invite reflection. They force you to slow down, to look honestly at your habits, your mindset, your decisions. And in doing so, they reveal where your foundation was weak. They show you the blind spots you ignored. Maybe your preparation wasn't enough. Maybe your emotions controlled you. Maybe you trusted too easily or pushed too hard. The point is, every loss has a root cause, and if you're brave enough to face it, you can correct it. Not instantly, not easily, but with commitment, and that correction becomes your rebirth. Every time you reframe a setback as a stepping stone, you train your brain to become more resilient. Neuroscience even confirms this. Your brain adapts to how you think. If you consistently treat adversity as opportunity, your mindset becomes one of growth. You stop being afraid of failure because you've seen what it gives you: clarity, feedback, strength. This mental shift doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you limitless. Think about the people in your life who inspire you the most. Chances are, they're not the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who faced struggle and refused to quit. They're the ones who got knocked down and stood up with fire in their eyes. That fire came from the lessons they learned when they were at their lowest. No one ever writes history for the people who avoided challenges. History remembers those who rose from them. So ask yourself, what will your story be? Will it be one of defeat or of determination? Will you be the one who quit when things got hard, or the one who rose every single time they fell? Your story is being written every day. Every setback is a new chapter, and you get to choose how it ends. The next time something doesn't go your way, remember this. It's not personal. It's not permanent. It's purposeful. There is something in that loss meant to sharpen you. Find it. Use it. Let it strengthen your resolve. Life doesn't reward perfection. It rewards persistence. The person who shows up every day learns from every loss and keeps walking forward, no matter how hard, is the one who eventually wins. When you turn your wounds into wisdom, you become unstoppable. When you see defeat as a message instead of a punishment, you become dangerous not to others, but to every limitation that's ever held you back. And when you refuse to let heartbreak destroy you, you become a living example of resilience. Courage and power so rise from your setbacks. Learn from your defeats. Let every heartbreak carve out more space for wisdom. Stand tall, not because you've never been broken, but because you've turned every break into a new beginning. That's the mark of true greatness. That's how you transform pain into power.